So welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. And I'm just going to dive in and get started. So my name is Patrice Perillo, if we haven't met before, and I am a career transition expert. I have been doing this kind of work for 40 years, typically helping people come to me, there's something missing, they feel a little bit empty, just something's not working. That was early on in my career as a psychotherapist, but as the years went by, I started to really specialize in career transition because so many people were just unhappy with that 8, 9, 10 hour day. And I do not believe, as a mental health professional, I know how important it is to have a career that you look forward to. And I'm going to get into all this in a minute, but the topic I'm going to really be sharing with you today is how I got out of what I call job jail. And I'm going to describe my job jail to you. So, once again, if you're here, it would be great to say hello, where you're listening from in the comments, and feel free at any time to ask a question. I also know that some people like to keep things private. So, feel free to say hello and type questions in as we go, or comments, anything that you like. So I'm just going to dive in. Again, my name is Patrice Perillo, and I'm a career transition specialist. This is what I love to do. I've been working with people in the helping profession for 40 years, and I love my profession. And as I said, I really specialize now in people who they're not quite happy with what's going on at work. And sometimes it's that they need to find a different career altogether. Sometimes they need to switch just to a different company, and sometimes there's something out of balance. And so I work with a holistic model. I work with the whole person. Sometimes I've had people not have to actually leave their company, but as we work together and their self-esteem rises and their confidence comes up, opportunities start to open up where they are right now, or they start to get recognized and appreciated in a different way, and they stay in their role and they become more fulfilled. So that's what I'm all about. So let me tell you my personal story, because when I'm out in the public, people always say, how did you even get into this? And it's really not a short story, but I'm going to give you the version that is really one of the times, actually the time in my life, where I could not keep going with the same actions and the same solutions that I had used to figure out how to be happy in a career. So way back in my 20s, I had gotten out of college, and I did what most people do, which is I had a liberal arts background, so I felt like I could do anything. I specialized. I did study a lot of sociology, psychology, biology, human being stuff, anthropology, but I really thought I could do anything. I was a pretty good writer, so I got into the writing field, and I took different jobs, and eventually I landed this really amazing job. And I was an editor at the young age of 24, 25. I was an associate editor at a trade journal, a big, gigantic magazine publishing company. And they were bought out while I was there by ABC. So it was a huge company, had a lot of prestige to it. So my job jail, I didn't think it was job jail when I landed this job. I thought it was my dream job. And my relatives and my friends, everybody was like in awe of the fact that a young person, I was even listed in the magazine in the area where it says editors, and I was an associate editor. So this was really a big deal. And as with most jobs, I was okay with it for a while and learning the ropes and just seeing what was what. So a time about a few months in, I realized I was really bored and I didn't really like what I was doing. I could not entertain myself or challenge myself. I could do the job. I would say the job was not really stressful. The only stress was coming from me looking around and saying, is this it? I don't know. Have you ever had that moment where you question yourself and you say, I remember summer was coming, right? It was like May or June, and I thought, is this it? I'm out of college now. Is this what my life is going to be? Summer used to be a fun time. You do something different. But I remember thinking, this is it? I could see the years, like just the whole sort of trajectory. I was imagining myself through the years, just doing the same old thing, driving to work. Now, like I said, this was a pretty prestigious job. I would get dressed up in the morning and I would go to my job jail. And my job jail was this big corporate building and it was 11 stories high. Or no, it was more than 11 stories because I would walk in, there was a marble entryway, right? A marble entryway, and somebody sat at a reception desk, looked like Miss America, all looking great. And then I would turn the corner and go to the elevator and take the elevator up to the 11th floor. And I would get out and the door would open and then I would see this sea of cubicles and fluorescent lighting. And my cubicle was, even though I had a big title, I had a cubicle and it was near the elevators. So all day I could hear those doors opening and shutting. But it was just this massive area of fluorescent lighting and cubicles. And that didn't really bother me, but I would get into my cubicle, I would do my work, and I was starting to be so bored that I don't know if you've ever done this, but I would take a nap in my cubicle. Now, it was easy for people to just look over and see, hey, she's taking a nap. So I did that. The reason I knew I was in job jail, I had started some bad habits. And I don't know if you've ever done this, but I had a drawer and it had tons of snacks in it. And these snacks were, you know, they weren't bad snacks, but I would be eating them to keep myself from sometimes falling asleep or being bored or passing the time, right? So I'm not sure if anyone has ever gained weight on the job, or in some cases you lose weight because nothing, you don't want to have anything to eat. You're just down and out. But anyway, so I would have this drawer, I would eat all day, and then I would put my head down and take a nap. The other thing I did was I was a clock watcher. Do we have any clock watchers here? Do you want to admit it? So I looked at the clock constantly. Oh, and it was corporate America. So 10 o'clock, coffee break. Everybody would get up, chit chat. And what I noticed is a lot of people were talking about what they did on the weekend or what they were going to do or the vacation they were going to take. And they seemed pretty okay with the job. And I just looked around and I thought, I don't really fit in here. But the problem was, I had already changed jobs 5 times. And it was pretty much in the writing field. I did take a job, believe it or not, I went to this agency to be placed, a job placement agency. And the woman was so impressed by my background, she asked me to work there. So I took the job and I worked there for a while, but that was not a fit for me. So this was about my fifth job. Now, remember, I'm only about mid 20s at this point, and I had hopped around. And so I just thought, I can't leave this job. This is where I have to stay. And this is it. So I did try to tough it out. And at one point, I would again look at the clock. I would look at my calendar. I couldn't wait till 5 o'clock. But here's what happened at 5 o'clock. I was so depleted by being bored and unhappy at work for those 8 hours, 9 hours, that when I got out of work, I didn't want to do anything. I was maybe depressed, I think would be the word. And so what would happen was I would just feel my self-esteem had taken a hit. Even though I had this great title, I didn't feel good about myself. I would go home and I would sleep or eat bad snacks at that point. And I really was in a pretty dark hole. And so, of course, I turned to friends and family and I asked them for advice. And I told them I was afraid to tell people I was unhappy because this was my fifth job change. But I told them I had changed jobs. They knew that I was at this prestigious job, and I told them I was unhappy. And the advice I got, and these are well meaning people who loved me and cared for me, was this is a great job. You'd be crazy to leave it. You'd be crazy. I wonder if anybody ever here has ever heard that. And if you're watching the replay, please let me know. If you've gotten advice to stay, to tough it out, to stick it out, it's worth it. You've got your 401k. You're going to get shares now you get shares in the company. So I was told this is stay where you are. You have job security. It's a great place. And I said, I'm so unhappy. And the advice was, well, get something to look forward to after work. So that was the advice, to tough it out all day and have something you're really looking forward to, a TV show or something. So I tried that. That didn't work for me. I tried to tough it out. The other piece of advice I got was that I should stay and make the best of it because, again, it's job security. And with this kind of thing, I would look bad if I was job hopping. So people told me, you should stay. You should stay. And the other thing that I heard constantly, tell me if you hear this one, tell me if you believe this one. Work is work, and you're not supposed to be happy. Don't look for happiness in your work. So, again, if you're listening, I wonder if you've ever heard that. Now, I'm not saying that your work has to be your life. In fact, I think opposite. Your work should fit into your life. Your life is a big pie, and this is a piece of the pie. But I was told nobody likes their job. So I just could not, even though that was what I was told, work is work. You're always going to just have to drag yourself into it, stick it out, tough it out. I just could not do it. So rather than quit, I had one of those light bulb moments because remember, every other job I would quit and I would get another job. I was pretty employable. I was young. I was energetic. I was smart, enthusiastic. And anytime I applied for a job, I pretty much always got it. So I knew that just leaving this job was not going to be the answer. And I knew I had to do something different. I could not take the traditional path of tell me if you've ever done this. Okay, what are my skills? What are my strengths? And then where could I plug them in? Or nowadays, you just go on Google and just start typing in job titles and then read the description and see if you have all the qualifications. So I'd like to hear if that's been what you're doing. That's very traditional. Don't blame yourself. That is how people typically look for a job. And honestly, there's a lot of career coaches and counselors who help people find jobs and they just start brainstorming what else you could do. In fact, I had a client who, before she came to me, she was talking to friends and family and colleagues, and they said, oh, you'd be so good at this, or you could even do this. Oh, over here. And she was getting bombarded with ideas. But she came to me because she wanted to be sure. She was at the top of her organization, CEO, but she was ready to leave that position. And she didn't just want to take the crapshoot. Oh, maybe this, maybe that. She had kids, she had a family, she had a life, she had bills like all of us. And so all these ideas were being, oh, you'd be so good at this. And she talked to a recruiter. The recruiter was very interested in her and her resume and started to make suggestions. But this person came to me and she said, I want to be sure that whatever I'm going to do next, that I really like it and I want to stay in it. She had actually taken the role. They had bumped her up to CEO because the current CEO had left. And they had been asking her for years to change from her other role to this oversight of the entire company. So she wanted to leave. And so she wanted to be sure. So I was so pleased that she came to me because phase one, there's three phases to the job search. And most people jump to phase three, which is interviewing, looking at it, seeing what the target job is, targeting that industry or that job title, targeting that, sending applications in, interviewing. That's phase three. There's three phases, and phase one is nowhere near phase three, but that's where most people jump. I'll be talking about these as I go along in other classes, but I want to get through my story of job jail. So here I was in job jail, and I knew that I couldn't stay, but I knew that I couldn't use the method that was being recommended to me by career counselors, by friends, family. You're good at this, look at your skill set, and you can do anything, just plug it in. But most of the advice was do not leave. So instead, I did something radical. I did something that I had not done before. Now, remember, I was feeling pretty depressed. So I was starting to blame myself. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me that I can't find something and stay in something? I thought maybe I have attention deficit disorder. They weren't even throwing around that term at that time. But I really blamed myself. And sometimes I would blame the company, this fluorescent lighting and whatever. So I stopped and I paused this time. And I decided to have an experience, and I hired a professional to find out what career path was really going to make me want to get out of bed. And that was a radical move because none of my friends, family, advisors, colleagues recommended that I dig down deep and find what my personal mission was or what lit me up as a human being. They went right to the skills and the strengths. So that's where I went. I went on a discovery and I did what I now do and what I now call phase one. I got career clarity. So, what happens when you get career clarity? Here's what happens next. Your self esteem shoots up because you know where you're going. You, even if you are still at the job, you begin to feel like, oh my God, this is great. I did leave that job and I took other jobs just to pay the rent, but I was happy in them, even though they were not jobs I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was happy in them because it's like I had a secret, right? And I had this smile on my face because I knew where I was headed. So once you have career clarity, it gives you confidence. Now, once you have confidence, that's when you strut in to job interviews or just even meeting people in daily life. And that confidence starts to shine and radiate, and people start to, oh, what's up with her? I want to talk to her, see what she's about. So once you have the clarity, then you have confidence, then you start to attract opportunities, and that's when you land your dream job. Now, I've just given you the big picture here. I didn't want to go into detail, but I was in job jail. I was totally unhappy with what I was doing. I was overeating. Sometimes I was undereating. Sometimes I would sleep the weekend away. I think a typical thing that people do is they do try to. I had a client who she had a high paying job, hated it. And she would spend her money on these big lavish dinners. She'd invite her friends and they would party hardy. And then she'd get up the next day and have to go to this job that she hated. And she started calling in sick a lot. And she was written up for that. These are the symptoms. So here's your takeaway today. Let's move on to the takeaway. What I want you to take away, I think I wrote this down somewhere, is that first of all, identify if you're in job jail. There are symptoms, there are telltale signs, right? That you're unhappy. It's not just, oh, I'm unhappy today, it's raining. It's over time, you're doing things, you're behaving in a certain way, and your life outside of work doesn't feel good. So look for those symptoms, okay? Now, don't jump ship, okay? I don't want you to jump ship. But the next thing that you want to do is you want to start to figure out, instead of just changing jobs, what is really going to make me happy. Now, that's the clarity stage, right? Getting clear about what you really want. There's a lot. I have a whole 5-step process. If you want that 5-step process, DM me and send me your email, and I will send that to you, the 5 steps to find a career you love. It's got the career clarity formula in there. But what I want you to take away is that before you take any kind of change or encounter, just change jobs or decide that you have to stay there forever, there's a process, an assessment process that you need to go through. And that assessment process is going to tell you a few things. It's going to tell you, should you stay in this job, and find out maybe there's some things that you can do in this very role that you're not doing right now that would lift you up and feel purposeful, meaningful. And then you might be able to stay in the very same job, in the very same company. Now, the other thing that might be possible is to stay in the same company and to change roles. I have a great example of that. My client, Georgina, she is very public about this, and she hired me because she was just tearing her hair out, ready to leave the company. She'd been trying to get into a different piece of the company, a different facet of the work. And she's a scientist, and she does great in her engineering, aerospace science, all of that great stuff. But she has a business side, a creative side, a writing side, a people side. And the door was shut every time she tried to make a shift. We worked together, and she got crystal clear about what she wanted to do with her time. And the magic of this, it's not really magic. She started showing up differently. People are like, hey, you're a little bit more sassy than usual. She was just feeling great about herself. They say feeling your oats. They'll know exactly what that means. But she was feeling good about herself because she knew in her heart where she was headed. She was going to find something that made her happy and that fit her life. She liked to do a lot of things after work, and this was sucking her energy, doing the same thing over and over. So once she knew where she was headed and she started to target different companies and have conversations with them, just a few months after we started working together, her boss came to her and asked her, she said, hey, I know you have one foot out the door. So people can tell. And her boss came and said, there's going to be an opportunity that opens up, and I think you would be perfect for it. She described the opportunity. It was exactly what Georgina wanted. And then she said, you're going to have to hold on a few months because this person is changing roles, and then we'll move you in there, or they're creating a position, whatever it was. And she was even told she's going to get a mentor, and that mentor would work with her, and she would also get a team that she would be working with and leading, basically. So she was going to really flex her muscles. And so she stayed at the same place. And to this day, she says to me, I love my job. I'm working in my dream job. So it's not magic. It's when you get clear, when you have the clarity, leads to confidence, leads to job offers or opportunities. People get attracted to confidence, and then those opportunities can lead you to your dream job. So I hope this has been helpful. And if you are listening now or on the replay, please ask me questions, post comments. The more action we get in here, the more we can support one another. And I'll be back again with some really good information for you. I've been told also, and if you want to leave a Google review, a positive review for me, that would be great. I've been told by various people over the years, because I've been doing this kind of teaching for years, really, 2019, 20, 21, 22, we're now in 23. I took a little break. I'll talk about that in another video. But I have been doing these teachings on social media in this private group. So there's tons of videos here. And I've been told that those videos, whenever someone has gotten low, they would watch one of the videos and they would get re-inspired, ignited. And what happens is, and one of my clients used to call this rehydrating hope. You're all dried out and tired and really feeling it. Now you're rehydrating hope because you can see a possible future. And we want to make that possible future a probable future. And it doesn't happen like that, but there are steps. And I know that the years I've worked with people and the research, the applied research with real human beings, not just my own journey, but with thousands of people, honestly, of working with them, I have distilled that information into a system, into a methodology that I can guarantee, and I don't use that word lightly, guarantee. I can guarantee if you follow these steps, and it's most important that you have a guide to keep you on track and to help you implement and take action. If you follow the steps that I have created for you, they will lead you to your dream job. And career clarity, there's no substitute for career clarity. There used to be an old commercial, I think it was a MasterCard commercial. What is this worth? What is that worth? What is all this? And then it would say something. But I'm going to borrow it and say clarity is, what is the cost of clarity? Clarity is priceless. Clarity is priceless. Once you have it, your whole life turns around and you come alive. And that's what I want for you. So that's what I have for you today. Leave a comment, DM me, whatever it is that you need to know. I'll be back with more great information. And I really am excited that we're here together. So we're on the journey together. We're on this journey together. I'm on it with you. So take care. Bye-bye.